Alright, so today we're talking about Barry Burton. Barry Burton is one of the main, I would say main, cast of the original game, and one of the main characters in Revelations 2, which is the gameplay in the background. And he hasn't appeared much outside of those two. He's in the live-action movies, one of them, I think. But those movies kind of suck, so doesn't really count. But there's a few interesting points of backstory I do want to go over. There's not much in terms of prior to the mansion incident, but there's a few things between that and now that are quite interesting. So without any further ado, let's get into what there is to know about Barry Burton. Okay, so after the events of Resident Evil 1 and the mansion incident, Barry moved to Canada with his family, basically to keep them out of reach of Umbrella. Just to kind of explain what that is, Wesker had basically threatened Barry's family, threatened to kill them, I should say, if he didn't help him try and take out the stars. Obviously that was the plan with Wesker in the first game, was to get the stars to the mansion in terms of testing data for the bioweapons they were making there. Obviously the stars were the best of the best in the Raccoon City Police Department, so getting them there and testing them against the bioweapons would give him sufficient combat data to obviously make them better. But of course that doesn't go to plan, and you know, the mansion blows up, and Jill, Chris, Barry, Rebecca all get away at the end of the game. Yeah, so to keep his family safe, he moves them out to Canada and then returns to Chris and Jill to help them in their anti-Umbrella efforts, we'll say. During the outbreak in Raccoon City, he took a helicopter to try and locate and extract Jill before the government ordered the city to be destroyed. Eventually, he did come into contact with Carlos, who was obviously helping Jill at the time, and was able to find her and rescue her and Carlos before the missiles blew up the city. So, Barry is a hero, everyone. Jill's still alive because of Barry. After that, Jill and Barry did participate in some undisclosed anti-Umbrella operations. We don't really know what they are, but we do know that they did several more missions together after Raccoon City. And then eventually, after the downfall of Umbrella, he went back to his family and tried to distance himself from anti-bioterrorism as much as he could, and just kind of live his life in a different country away from everything else. Fast forward a little bit to 2009, and Chris and Barry finally had time to kind of catch up after the events of Resident Evil 5, and Chris had basically asked Barry to maybe consider joining the BSAA, which is obviously the group that Chris has kind of founded and is, well, one of the founding members of at least, and that's obviously the bioterrorism security team that is very prominent in the story now. Barry does actually accept it in a way. Instead of him actually being a field operative, he is basically a consultant and a trainer for a younger generation of soldiers, and helps Chris obviously recruit more people to the BSAA over time. And he also meets Claire as well, and they become pretty close. And you know, obviously they are quite close in Revelations 2. They do kind of come across each other in that game. And then fast forward to the events during Resident Evil 6, he is at home, and on the news he notices that there's a broadcast of a news report that Neo Umbrella, which is obviously the enemies in Resident Evil 6, are doing global terrorism attacks, mainly in China, and it is suggested that he goes there to help, but you don't really get more than that. He hasn't actually been in the games since Revelations 2, but it is suggested that he went and helped, or almost went to help. But that's basically it. Like, again, these side character videos aren't particularly long because there's not a lot of information to go off of. But in terms of returning, I think it's very likely he might, mainly because of the theories around Resident Evil 9 right now. And these are really kind of out there theories, but they're very prominent. Like, it's usually the same kind of theory you'll see, and that's for another video coming soon, where I kind of go over all that stuff anyway. I don't want to go too much detail about that because it's still so far away, but I do want to kind of cover what everyone's talking about, what people want to see. So having him return for that game or in a future game is very possible, because he's one of the original characters, you know, from the first game. I think out of all the characters that should return, it should be either, you know, Jill or Rebecca or Barry, because they were in the first game with Chris. So it makes more sense for them than anyone else, in my opinion, anyway. But that's essentially it for Barry. Do you like the character? Do you think he should return? Do you want to see him return? Do you not want to see him return? Maybe he'll be the one that dies, you know? Maybe there'll be a big death in Resident Evil 9. That's a big deal. Who knows? Because honestly, it's shocking that none of the main cast have died yet. I personally believe that Chris is going to die. I got a feeling he might, but I'm not 100% sure. I do think RE9 is going to be the last game Chris is in, but that's my own kind of opinion. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on Barry down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.